Welcome to today's solution overview session. My name is Greg Schmidt, and the topic that I'll be covering today is intelligent OCR and document classification. What is it, and how can it be used in my organization to help with automation tasks? There are three main areas that I'll be talking about today to describe the technology: core intelligence, definition creation, and self-learning via the user review stations. First, I'll be talking about the core intelligence and how it works along with definitions. Then I'll be doing a demonstration of the user interface and how the self-learning process works within the application to really simplify the process and interaction of the training of documents and making the solution smarter as time goes on. The technology removes the need for users to do any hand keying of the data and gives them the ability to become more of a validator of data for those exception documents only. The four core intelligence packages that can be added into the intelligent OCR and classification engine are invoice actions, order actions, claims actions, and also remittance actions. These intelligence packages have algorithms built in them to detect a large portion of incoming document types and then also extract the data dependent on those different kinds of classifications of those document types. So if an invoice comes in, when it classifies an invoice, it knows the data that's needed to be able to process out the invoices. Same thing with order actions and claims actions and remittance actions. Once it detects those different document types, it can then extract the data at those different layers. Now what I'm going to do, I just want to jump right into the application here to show you sort of a quick overview demo of the intelligent OCR and classification process and how it works. The process does start with capturing documents into the system, right? So being able to automate that document capture process, meaning that if there's emails coming into the system, we can monitor for different documents that come into the system via email. We can monitor for scanned documents. We can also monitor for network folders that you might be placing EDI transactions into. Or it could be even website monitoring. And with website monitoring, we have one of the pieces built into here is what we call the WebDAV function, where we can actually put a user ID and password in to be able to connect to the back end of a partner site, to be able to download and retrieve information. Then we also do have, as an add-on module, with our Automate RPA, bot capabilities, robotic process automation capabilities here at Help Systems, the capability to be able to extend that function if need be as well. All right, let me jump in here, and for the demonstration purposes here today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste a couple documents into the system here. This is just going to be simulating the process around capturing the documents into the system that might be coming from an email or might be coming from a scanner and scanning them into the system. The powerful piece of here inside of here as a takeaway is when we're scanning or putting documents into the system, the naming convention doesn't make a difference to us, right? We're actually looking at the document. The technology is looking at the document, and it's going through the document and making sure it can classify and do those different things with it, and then processes the data off it automatically with just a pure technology standpoint. Now, what's happening behind the scenes with this here is when the engine takes this document or documents, it is going through, and first of all, what it has to do, as we talked about this, is the auto classification part. So it's doing the auto classification, it's doing invoice splitting. If it contains more than one document, it can split them out and process them as individuals. It's doing any image cleanup that's needed, and then OCR and data extraction at the header, footer, and line item detail. We also, inside the process at this point, we can do business rules and apply business rules and matching processes to this process. So, and then downstream, if we're talking about AP processing and stuff like that, we also have ways to be able to do 2- and 3-way matching and routing outside of the interface for approvals, if need be. There's sort of a couple different approaches that you can take during during the capture, right? So the capture system is going to capture them from those different sources. The OCR engine is going to process that data. And then the ultimate goal in this process is to be able to go through what we call straight-through processing. So all documents are verified, data has been verified, and it goes to that top process where we're pushing the data to the ERP, and then maybe the document to the DMS system, the WebDoc system on the back end. Now, for exception documents, we do have what I'll call a capture workflow that's built into the system as well. That gives you the capability for users to be the capability to accept and update any information, and also train the system if need be a little further on certain kinds of document types that might come in the system. And then on the bottom here, this grayed out piece, depending on the package, if we're talking about AP automation and stuff like that, and even order processing, we do have packages for that routing process to be able to put into the document management workflows for someone to be able to look at that information as well. So we do have that capability there. Now, from a process standpoint, the only documents that are going to need to be touched here are documents that have some kind of exception. This verification station here is the user interaction to those to the documents that need some kind of verification, or are the exceptions in there. Now, this can be deployed a couple different ways. It can be deployed as a desktop application like this, and then it also can be deployed as a web browser application. Both same functions, just depending on how you want to be able to push that push those batches out to those individuals to be processed. You'll see here this interface is going to give me everything I need as an operator to be able to do validation of that data. It's going to show me all the data that's validated. It's also going to, I always like to look at this bottom little left-hand corner down here that basically says, here is my errors on this document. So we tell the operator exactly why this document is an exception inside the system so that they can do correction on it. So they can actually click on this little informational tab here, and it shows them that in this case here, this was a 3-way matching rule. I have a matching rule that's actually looking to see, and it's looking at the line item data and the total amount to make sure it matches the PO, and there's actually a deviation set of over 10%, so that's why it's flagging this one to me. Now, if I'm an operator, I can actually accept that here. Or if I had the workflow module, I can push that to the next step, and maybe if it's a department manager or someone else outside of the AP department that needs to do approval, that could be routed to those individuals. Now, the technology has some really cool features built into it, and I'll call it reference checking and those business rules, right? So in the case of like this here, I'm going to show you this here. So I'm going to change this 2 to a 1. And then when I hit my enter key, if the system did pick up some kind of data or different data, or maybe the invoice is wrong or the data is wrong on the document, it does reference check that information and does mathematical stuff inside of here too. So if you see here, it has a table arithmetic rule check error. So this one actually failed the process here during that and triggered a business rule problem. So it said, hey, that this doesn't match the line item information and the total amount inside of there. So the software is smart enough to do some of those reference checks and process through. Now, as we're walking through these different documents, right? So this one was pretty easy. We just had to do a quick visual verification and make sure that that's good. This next document is a perfect example of the application and the technology with what we call the definitions, or the core technology, right? Like we're talking about in this case, it's invoice actions, having certain intelligence out of the gate, right? To be able to extract like 99% of this data. But in this case here, this is one that you probably would want to create a definition for if it was a high volume vendor. But if it's a lower volume vendor, you can actually put it through a process like this to be able to, since we're getting so much of that data already, and we can actually do what we call self-learning. So from an operator standpoint, they always have the ability to come in here and type information in, right? But by typing information, you're just telling it one thing and one time what to do. By clicking on the invoice where that data lives at, right, you'll see it actually starts to fill in that left-hand top panel there now with the data from the item number, and it's associating the SKU and part number to that information as I click. So now I can actually put this into, when I submit this, it can become sticky. So the next time it sees this document in a batch, it knows where to go and retrieve that item number and process the information from. So that's, I'll call it a perfect use case example of teaching it during an exception process to get smarter from an operator standpoint. And then this one here, this triggered an event to me here saying, hey, there's 4 matching records found. Which one do you want to pick? So when I click on this little option here, this is actually going to go out to my ERP database or line of business system database, and it's going to provide me those different matches that it's telling me that I have matches for because of that phone number. And then it's going to allow me to select the one I need to select in this process, and then go through this process here at that point. Now, there's other things in here too that, the data line, so say there's data corrections I need to do, like this subtotal. It's not picking up the right information. So if you see here on my bottom side here, and if I need to update that information, it's simple for the next time. It's simple. I can just draw a box around this, and you'll see that it's going to update that information, and it's going to allow me to remove that business rule error at that point because now it has all the correct data for it. So very easy for an operator to come in here and actually do that data validation side of things. Now we also have a process inside of here to be able to correct any OCR, character recognitions, and confidence levels in here too. Some invoices are going to have nothing to be able to do verification. Some are going to have more than others, right? This one's a quick one to be able to say, hey, is this truly a slash in here? I picked it up correctly. It's just asking me to confirm that. And then once I confirm that, it's going to complete that batch. Then after that batch is completed, I can hit what we call the send the batch button. And what that send the batch button is going to do is push those documents to the document management system or into a workflow if there was a workflow associated to those, if you have those kinds of modules from us in there. And then also push that data directly to the ERP system for updating. So it's a very, very powerful engine at that point to be able to process. Now, today was just an overview of the intelligent document capture process and OCR processing and classification. If you have any questions on this, feel free to schedule a demonstration, a more in-depth demonstration with your process and your documents as well. Thank you for your time.